is full of pain. I'm 1,000 miles away from home, just waiting for a train.
Okay, so this is the packaging that we'll be working with. It's this really long sheet of this really nice crinkly material. And what I'm excited for with this is that I want to try and create a composition that flows from top to bottom vertically. And what I also like about this is that if you expand the sides here, you see that there's also this sliver of paper that we can work with. So hopefully that will make for a really interesting, slimmer design. Okay, so we have our first vertical length thing. I might want to cut the bottom edge later, but for now let's just focus on getting all the sheets out first. Bit uneven, but this is how the second slice of paper looks like. There's a little bit of pen here, so I was trying to test out my art supplies, and this is sort of like the encouragement that I needed to just start on this. I think this one unfortunately has to lose the entire bottom edge, but at least that means you'll have an extra area for like swatches and stuff. So after making that rough sketch to warm up, I've moved over to actually drawing the thing itself on the paper. It was really scary to make the first move, and to sort of half procrastinate, half make my life easier, I've decided to draw some grid lines on the paper, which at first helped me give like a 10% confidence boost in helping me figure out where to place the subjects. It was really terrifying to just go straight for it with a pen of all things on this wide expanse of paper, and I was terrified of messing up, which to be fair I did, but like a big brain genius I recovered from it, because if I didn't I'd feel like shit. I think you're seeing on screen now, I tried a little too hard on the guy's face here. Like I messed up somewhere along his nose, I think, and I added like extra lines to sort of cover up my mistake and pretend to pass it off as my attempt at shading, but it kind of like looks a bit out of place here. Whatever, I got over it later because guess what? I messed up pretty badly for the girl too. Like her arms looked a little wonky. Like I got overconfident thinking, oh, I've been sketching a lot these past few days, surely I can nail the pose down. I didn't fucking nail the pose down. So her arms looked a bit strange, and so did her hands, and the legs, while they look fine proportionally, I feel like I've used too many like chicken scratch lines, which like the shading on the guy's face looked a bit out of place in the whole thing, but whatever. Here's the thing, I hyperfixate on these like flaws, these mistakes, because I'm unnervingly fond of this packaging. Like I know it's trash for some brownies I ate like a fucking month ago, and it's not like I couldn't get any more nice aesthetic packaging in the future. Furthermore, the paper itself is not great, like it doesn't take to pencil or ink really well, as we soon realize. So the only thing that I'm willing to try my luck with is the humble ballpoint pen, which even then I didn't know if it's because of me or the pen. but it's really hard to like build up solid line weights and values with it. And yet, despite these qualities, I like it a lot. The backing of it, as I said before, is really pretty, and I feel like the paper itself just came into my life at the right time when I was trying to get into being more creative and hands-on with my art. I won't bore you again with all that since I've already mentioned it, but the packaging was super inspiring. When I thought of this idea, this illustration of a woman by the riverbank as a man gives her a flower, I feel like I was thinking of something special for this paper specifically, like a custom artwork sort of thing, and not just some silly little doodle or whatever the fuck. I guess it's just the feeling of drawing on something unique, something different from normal paper or my sketchbook. I don't know how to articulate it. It just feels special to me. The texture, the color, the aspect ratio, everything about it was just really attractive for me. And I was really excited to just make art with it. To sort of explain what I mean, you know the thing in fan fictions where you have the werewolf during the shame they mark their lovers as their mate. My sleep deprived ass can't think of a better analogy when writing this script, but the idea of making marks just it doesn't. Anyway, it sort of applies here. Mistakes and inconveniences aside, there's something invigorating about making marks on this paper which could be considered trash under normal circumstances. It feels like I'm giving it a new life, a new reason for it to exist and take up space in this world. Take up space in my room rather than in the rubbish bin. On top of that, I feel like I'm claiming a piece of this world to be home, to be the carrier of my self-expression and ideas. As I draw on this paper, every win, every L I take with my pen is all me, putting my stamp on the real physical world we live in. I feel like I'm leaving a piece of me behind in this world, albeit on a part of the world that nobody really wants. It's somewhat poetic though, and I like the idea of transforming an inconsequential thing into something pretty and of significance. To me anyway. It got me thinking, pretty much almost anything can be a canvas for me to express myself on if I'm willing to try. I think creativity is not really about thinking of the most original idea or the most unique thing. This experience sort of reminded me in a way that being creative is about seeing potential in something, in seeing that this piece of paper is not scrap but another place to draw on. And I think that's what appeals to me about traditional art, and especially now as I get into it, why of all things traditional art is the thing that I want to document on my channel rather than my digital art process these days. With digital art, as much as I love its flexibility with its infinite colors, liquify tools and canvas size, it's still pixels in the void somewhere, in the abstractedly defined cloud ice storage. It doesn't feel as quote-unquote real, and I oftentimes don't feel as excited to start on it. Meanwhile, with traditional art, it's more tangible and by extension more personal. I don't need to go through the trouble, those 15 seconds of turning on Procreate. I could just glance in my room and boom, the first thing I see is my uncompleted artwork waiting to be finished. I get reminded that my silly little ideas are actually occupying a real physical presence in this world. This specialness in how tangible art can be is not something that can be easily represented or reproduced in digital art. I feel like when I'm drawing the little details, on paper, adding ink splotches, moving out the crinkles, I feel the paper texture, I feel my hands actually touching something. Of course, digital art is convenient, and I'd catch myself thinking, damn, this minuscule detail would have gone by a lot faster with my gajillion custom brushes on Procreate. But then I remember that's not the point. The point with traditional art for me is to enjoy putting marks down and taking your time, especially if you don't need to rush. It's all about having fun and enjoying the process. I think what's beautiful about recycling something unconventional to make art is your ability and willingness to mark a part of the world as your own, as indicative of your creative vision, your interest, your story, your whole being as a person. It's about pushing boundaries, I guess, to truly showcase that art can be anywhere, that you do not need much to start making art. For like the only thing you really need if you want to do whatever I just did is the willingness to try and an idea. More practically speaking, you might need a ballpoint pen, like me, or if you prefer, a pencil and an eraser. So if you're here just to have a good time, you do not need to be the most original or skilled. You just need to be excited to try and put in the work, you know? In the words of Persona 5, wake up, get out there, yippee! But back to the piece itself, I've had this strange vision of adding ink washes. I have not touched like ink in years, bro. I hesitated at first, afraid that I would ruin not just the piece itself, but the beautiful packaging up front. On a test I did on a scrap piece of paper, I saw that the ink bled through the back and I got scared, so I put it off. So I realized that the piece looked kind of pale and you couldn't really tell the elements apart due to the lack of contrast. So I said, you know what? Let's fucking do it. From the depths of my cabinet, I pulled out my Winsor & Newton ink that I got years ago, which surprisingly still worked, and diluted a small amount of it in a crusty ass jar and started adding ink washes all over the piece. First starting with her hair, because I conveniently used it as a device to cover up my shitty arms. Before becoming a bit bolder with the rest of the background, like adding splotches to the lily pads, mainly, as well as the palm tree in the background, which, to be honest, I kinda regret. But I think the point here is, just do it. You have an idea, there's paper, let's go, let's do it, okay? Who knows, it might look cool in the end, it might not, but hey, you had fun, right? And that's all that matters. Today though, on a more serious note, the piece now lives in my sketchbook with the upper portion taped down with washi tape where it won't be relegated to the dusty confines of my shelf to be crumpled evermore, where it can be viewed and appreciated by myself with some sort of dignity. I've also added some finishing touches off screen and taped up the tear in the middle before it got worse. This piece made me especially sentimental. Before, it's merely a piece of paper meant to be trash, but now it's an art piece, and it just vindicated my appreciation for art in its ability to make the unexpectedly useless beautiful and breathing life into things. Now, I won't waste more of your time for another very poorly sappy rant, so I'll just end the video here. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you're here, the illustration was a wild one and it made me excited to just make stuff again, and I hope you'd stick around. Until the next one, please take care of yourself, and I hope to see you in the next one. I repeated a greeting, but who cares? Bye bye!